every day in life gets real, and you have to do real stuff, like get up, work, clean, cook, survival, do things that make life go forward. God's always there, and the good thing about God is not only is He there, but He is willing and able to help us for that journey. And as we do that stuff, we get better. And God creates in us a heart that reaches out to other people. And it's not just about us, but it's about them too. Amen. And I know you know people you love and care about that have needs today or that are maybe struggling, but let God use you to help them. Be a blessing through you to the rest of the world. Let's pray. Father, thank you that you have not only given us life and you've helped us to live and survive, but you've given us an ability to reach out and touch others. We pray that your will would be done in our hearts today. Fulfill your purpose. Direct our path. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Love so bold.
Amen. Amen. You need prayer today. I want to invite you to come up. Let's pray with you. Peggy and Curtis both need prayer. Different problems, physical issues they have. Jack's sister-in-law fell and needs prayer. A lot of other people have situations in their life need prayer. If you need, come stand or stand for someone else. That would be great. Everybody help us pray. received the offering this morning, we make a few announcements. One is this week, of course, we have Wednesday night youth and kids here at 7, and then adults meet at Old Dock Soda Shop, Bible study at 7. I'd like to have you join us there. If you're not busy with something else, that's a great time we have together. And, it's good stuff.
Yes.
VBS will be June 10th through the 13th, and we need you to plan to be part of that. And we need your help. There are all kinds of things that we need help with. You don't have to be a teacher or something like that in order to help. We need help in all kinds of categories. So, see Sally or Judy if you want to help with VBS, let them know. And if you'd like to give toward that, it takes money to make that happen. Life plans. We are starting something new. Oh, here it is, right in front of me. That's why I didn't see it. This will be up here. Life plans is going to be a once-a-month meeting where we talk about the real world, real life, down-to-earth stuff that people deal with. And it's going to be real, it's not going to be set up like teaching or preaching. It's going to be where we're going to talk and share and deal with stuff that you deal with in your life, and we deal with. Judy and I have been a few places, done a few things, and lived a while, and stayed married for all that time. And be 42 years in June. Been 2 of the best years of her life. And, but we're going to get together on this first one will be February 10th. That's next Sunday at 5 o'clock. We'll be right here. And if you want to be a part of it, these are going to be, I want you to sign up that you're going to come. If we have one that nobody signs up for to come, we won't have it. I won't be sitting here waiting on you to show up. So I put this out last week. We already have 8 or 9 on the list, but I would like for you to still put your name on it. It'll be right here after the service. You can sign up for that to be a part of it if you would like to. Also, July the 5th to the 12th, we're going to Guatemala, and at least Judy and I are, and a few of the rest of you might if you'd like to. They've already got a work project figured out for us, I think, and we will be going to help out there. So if you would like to be a part of that, I need to know that. By the end of the month, we'll be ordering tickets for that trip. All right, anything else that I missed? Anybody? Sue Lynn?
Camp's coming up.
Pardon me?
Camp.
Youth camp is coming up. If you'd like to give toward that, we got a lot of kids that are going to want to go, and we want to make sure that they're going to do fundraisers and that sort of thing. We want to make sure all of them that want to go are able to go. It's a great blessing for them. What's the date on that?
June the 28th through July 1st.
Okay, right there at the end of June. So remember that. Come on, guys. Worship God in your giving today. Be blessed as you give. God is a blessing God.
Yes.
Amen. Audio, would you ask a blessing over the offering, please?
Above all powers, above all kings, above all nature and all creation.
Right.
Y'all have a seat. let's let the kids go to children's church. While they do, you can get more coffee, speak to somebody. Don't leave, we're not done. John chapter 1, If you got a bulletin, the scriptures that I'm going to read from are there. If you don't have a bulletin, raise your hand, and Claudio will get you one. I need one? All right. John chapter 1, the last part of the chapter, beginning verse 43. Glad you're here today.
Amen.
The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, "Follow me." Now, this is a big term here, two words, but following a rabbi in that era meant that you followed them all over the place, and they taught as they went, and you never knew where you were going to wind up, and you left behind people you loved and the way of life you knew and followed. So it's a big statement. Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. I don't know why Bethsaida developed so many disciples, but apparently it was strategic. Philip found Nathanael. His whole name was Nathanael Bartholomew, and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nazareth? Can any good come from there? Nathanael asked. Yeah, you know, it's kind of like Comanche. Can any good thing come from there? No, I'm just kidding. Oh, Elizabeth's not even in here. Okay. She's with the kids. Said that for her benefit. Can anything come from there? Can any good thing come from there? Come and see, said Philip. Philip was smart, so he didn't argue with him. He just said, "Come see. Come see. Come and see." He knew Nathanael was a thinker. He knew Nathanael worked things out in his brain a lot and thought about different things. In fact, he was bragged on by Jesus himself. So Philip knew that, and he knew not to argue with him that was not going to help. He just said, "Come and see." When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, remember, Jesus is watching him walk up, and he goes, "Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." That's pretty good terms for Jesus to say about you. That's a pretty good statement. When Jesus is bragging on you, that's good stuff. You know, your mother brags on you, everybody expects that. Your daddy brags on you, everybody expects them to say, "Oh, yeah, that was my kid out there. You see that? That was my kid." But when it's Jesus bragging on you,
Amen.
that's a pretty good deal. And he never talked to this guy before. You just saw him walking up. Israelite in whom there is no deceit. How do you know me? Basically, Jesus' statement was, this guy's for real. Here's an Israelite, taught in the law, taught in the principles of being Jewish, and he's for real. That's what Jesus' statement basically meant. There's no deceit. There's no God. What you see is what you get. There's no pretending. He is what he is. You see it. It's a real deal. Like people like that. Nathanael's response was, "How do you know me?" Jesus answered, "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree before Philip called you." Wow. Detail.
Yes.
I saw you were sitting under, well, I don't know what he was doing. He might have been thinking. You know, thinkers think. He might have been sitting under the fig tree thinking. Then Nathanael declared, exclamation mark, declared, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Boy, that was easy. Jesus convinced him in a statement because he said something that let Nathanael know, I saw you before. I knew you before this moment. I saw you sitting under that fig tree. It was like a prophetic statement. I saw you there when you were there. I saw you. And Nathanael goes, "My Lord, how do you know that?" So he makes the declaration, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God." Jesus said, "You believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree?" Just that simple of a deal. You believe because of that? You will see greater things than that. He then added, "Very truly, I tell you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man."
Yes.
God has seen all of us before. He knows where you came from, what you are, who you are, how you are. He knows what you had to deal with to get grown. And some of us had some stuff to deal with before we got grown. For some of us, it's a miracle that we made it. And some of us, it's a miracle we sit up and feed ourselves. It's just because of the things we went through or the things that we battled with. But because of God and who God is, He saw us then, and one of my favorite songs that from the years ago was, He knew me then, He knows me now, and He loves me still somehow. He knew where we would be today. And He says, you think that was something? Now, we can all point to a spot in our life where something happened that's not really easy to explain. How God put us together with a certain person, or God arranged for us to have this spiritual experience, and we went, wow, there is a God, and He cares for me. And we can all go back to something like that and go, that's great. Well, Nathaniel's deal, he immediately went, there's no way he could know that unless God had shown him. And this revelation was like, bingo, bang, a great thing. But what is really great? Got a few things here I want to show you. We'll start with the littlest. One thing is this ring I wear. And some of you have asked me about that. It's a horseshoe with diamonds in it. And in fact, I took it to a jeweler and had him look at it, not really appraised, but he said, yeah, he told me it was worth something. But that ring, I never liked wearing a ring. I always wore my wedding ring because I was threatened about it, so I kept it on. This is the same wedding ring I've had for almost 42 years. It's wore the edge off and all that, but it's the same one. I have rarely taken it off my hand. It's been covered in paint and grease and all kinds of stuff, but it's always been right there. But this one, I worked with a man years ago, much older than about my dad's age, and he and I became really good friends, and he taught me a lot, and he was a very deep thinking type guy, and he and I just clicked. We'd meet at the cafe in the mornings, have breakfast together, and drink coffee together, and talk, and I'd go by his house, and we'd do different things together. We used to do some rattlesnake things together because he was really into the rattlesnake deal, and he'd catch them, and he kept a big deal at his house where he kept rattlesnakes until the time of year when he'd sell them for the roundup. But before he died, he had this ring, and his son had bought it for him. And he told his son, he said, after I'm gone, send that ring to Ronnie Horton. Well, his son saw me at a meeting in the Dallas area, and he said, man, because I said, man, I was talking to him, and we was talking about his dad, and he said, I've been meaning to send, he said, my dad told me to send you a ring, and I've got to do it. He said, I forgot about it. I put it in the drawer. He said, I'm going to send it to you. And about a week later, I got it. Got an envelope in the mail. I took it out, put it on my finger, and it fit perfect. And I went, oh my gosh. Because I had a connection with this guy. He was one of those men that, like, my dad was a good dad. This guy was a father figure too. And he was the kind of guy, we loved each other, and it was strong, and I learned from him. And so by having that, I thought, man, that's a connection. That means a lot. That's great. This little group of people right here, if you've been in my office, you've probably seen this. This little group of people, very significant to me. The old guy in the middle with a big white mustache, I'm beginning to look more and more like. That's my great-grandfather. He was a preacher. His dad was a chaplain in the Union Army during the Civil War. The little girl standing beside him, that's about 11 years old, is my mom. She would be 92 right now if she was still alive. She's standing right there beside him. In this crowd are 6 men that are my mom's uncles. Some of them were preachers. One of them rode from Georgia to California horseback, starting churches along the way, breaking horses in the daytime on ranches, and preaching at night, start churches. His name was Wesley. Wonder how that happened. And then one woman that's in this crowd, one young lady, is my grandmother. She was the only girl in that family. And that's my grandmother, Granny. This is very significant. It means a lot to me. And the history, knowing the history, we all have a history. But I think because of some of the right decisions that John Edward Mills here made, the old man in the middle, a lot of other good decisions were made after that. And a lot of people, even though my mom's mom had trouble, her family was broke up. She was married 3 times in an era when it was not popular to be divorced or anything. It was very taboo. She had her own trouble. She had a troubled life, but out of that came a lot of good stuff. That's great. This hangs in my office. A lot of you have seen this. I love this. Love it for a lot of reasons. But one of the main reasons I love it is because an old man that I knew years ago, I visited him in the nursing home, and this was the only thing on his wall. He didn't have any pictures of kids or family. He didn't have anything else decorating his room except this at the nursing home. And I'd go visit him, and we'd pray together, we'd talk about horses and cows mostly, cowboy stuff. And I was in there one day, and he looked at me, and he said, "Preacher, I ain't going to be around much longer. Take that off the wall. I want you to have it." He said, "My kids will wind up putting that in the garage somewhere." He said, "Ain't no telling what will happen to it," but he said, "I want you to have it. Take it." And I said, "Oh, I can't do it." He said, "Take it. Take it off the wall." And I said, "Well, what if your kids come in here and notice it missing?" He said, "Ain't none of their business. Take it." So I took it. Gladly. Just acting like I didn't want to. So, which is the greater? Which is the greater? That one's bigger. I don't know what it's worth. I think it's just a print. This is probably worth more. Which is greater? What's that?
I'd say your family.
Which is greater? She says family. Family's important. Which is greater? Man, it's hard to say what's greater. Because it all has something to do with me and my life, and it's personal, and I can connect to it, and I remember the people and the faces and things, and when I'm not real motivated, and I look down and I see my hand with that ring on it, and I think about Bill. He was a Bill too, like our Bill Matthews that was around here. I think about that, and I could have brought a lot of other things today to talk about from other people. What's greater? I don't know. But I can tell you that God was involved in all of these because God, through these people, helped me at times when I really needed that. And some of them helped me before I was even there, before I came along. The only thing I know of most of the people in this picture are their headstones in the cemetery near Commerce, Texas. But they had a direct impact. And the reason that God does things for you is so that you can get to a place where you know Him better, and those greater things that happen can influence your life so you can turn around and influence others. Amen. See, because it's not just that God babysits us through life. Survival's good. I've been surviving a long time. And I plan on surviving a while longer. I'm already planning the 100th birthday party. I got to live that long to keep up with her, because she's gonna, her family lives forever. Lord.
I mean, I'm not gonna have any free life.
You're her. The greater is that influence,
Yes.
that power that God chooses, because at different moments of time, all of these were tremendously great. And Nathaniel probably never forgot. He'd say, hey boys, you know the day I first met the Lord, he told me where I did. He had seen me before I ever got here. He said, you sitting under a fig tree before you got here. Big deal. But bigger stuff happened. Jesus said to him, you'll see the angels of God ascending and descending. And I think he was referring to scripture, a prophetic scripture from the book of the Revelation when he said that. But greater things doesn't just mean that I saw a miracle. I mean, that's great. This lady right here was healed of polio when she was 6 years old. Her left foot was clubbed, her left arm was like this, and she couldn't speak clearly. And miraculously, they prayed for her at church. They've been praying for her for months. But they prayed for her at church one Sunday, and 2 weeks later, this arm turned around, released, her foot turned straight, and she's been talking ever since. I mean, she's quiet at church over here at home. The greater is not necessarily that moment of healing. The greater is that she did something with all that afterwards.
Yes.
And touched, no telling how many people because of that.
Right.
Your life. We all want God to be great in our life. And we come to church. You come because you want to know that thing you need to know, or make that connection, or get that confirmation that God is working in your life. The greater thing may be right down the road. Something greater, something that impacts you in a great, powerful way. Now, if we could bring these people back. This guy, character and a half. Oh my gosh. We laughed about so much stuff and made fun of people. And all kind. I mean, Bill was a rattlesnake dude. He'd been bitten 42 times by rattlesnakes. He caught them. He had a big 4x8 square rectangle cage in his garage with heat lamps in it. And all year he'd catch rattlesnakes and put them in there. And then close the rattlesnake roundup, he'd get them out and sell them. But when you walked off his back porch and got about halfway out there, they felt your vibration on the ground and they started rattling. You hear that. He loved to get out one of them 6-footers and throw him on the ground and watch him crawl around while people ran in every direction. Me and him took a box of rattlesnakes to Winters, Texas one time for their Lions Club. They wanted a rattlesnake presentation, so he and I went. My job was to keep him from going off the table while he talked. So he grabs one with his hook and throws him out on the table. Her, probably a female because she was rambunctious. Throws her out on the table, and she coils up, strikes at him a few times. Of course, he's talking and staying back and talking about it with people. And I'm trying with my tongs, I'm trying to keep her up there. Well, she goes off the front of the table. A little old card table-like thing we were using for our display. The building was full of people come to see that. Well, this guy that was a city manager from there at the time, he was from India, I think. And that rattlesnake went off the front of that table, and I went around there to grab it with my tongs, and I looked up, and that dude is out the back door. He's gone. And he's not walking either. He's in a strut. He's going. That was it for him. He's done. I don't know why he gave up his front row seat. But old Bill, I'd love to let him come and entertain y'all a minute, because he was a funny guy. He's a guy that thought in a way that motivated me. He was one of those guys that I look at and go, one of my big fans. He was one of the guys that was always rooting for me. And his own son told me, he said, man, he said, my dad thinks you're he said, my dad don't like preachers, but he likes you. No, great. I guess that's good. guy, he don't know what he did for me while he was laying months in a bed in a nursing home dying. He don't have any idea how much he encouraged me in our conversations. Because most of the time when I went to see him, I felt like he'd help me instead of me helping him. Then he gives me this. And man, I'd sure like to bring this old man back. Wonder what he'd think. Because his daddy was a military chaplain and a preacher, pastor. Pastor started a church after. And he was a pastor in East Texas, buried out by Commerce. You know what he'd think? I'd like for him to be here. Can't be. Can't happen. But all those contributed to me. Now, what about you? Quit looking down on yourself and your own heart and your own relationship with God. Look up to God and look for God to do great things for you. Quit looking just for survival, because it's not just about surviving. If it was just about surviving, all you would need would be food, sleep, and activity. A little exercise. That's what it takes to really be healthy. Good nutrition, sleep, and exercise. That's all you'd need. You wouldn't need that car you drive. You wouldn't need that nice house you live in. You wouldn't need all the other stuff. You wouldn't need that cell phone. You wouldn't need that computer. You can survive without all of that. Did you know it? Or you think you can't? Oh, we have kids this tall that come in going, I forgot my cell phone. I gotta go. I gotta call my mom. I forgot my cell phone. The world's gonna end. I don't know what's gonna happen. I forgot my cell phone. I don't know how we made it. Man, I don't know how we made it when there was one phone in the school. And the secretary answered that like, what do you want? Why are you calling here? No, you can't use a phone. Go back to class. And now if everybody don't have one, we're in a catastrophe.
Right.
There are probably 50 phones in this room. Mine's gone off twice since I started talking. I feel it vibrating. It's either one of you trying to be a smart aleck, or one of my other friends outside of here who knows what I'm doing right now who's trying to be a smart aleck. Or my son who don't ever notice what time it is. He just, when he thinks of it, he sends it. God has greater things for you.
Yes.
Quit feeling bad about the failures and quit going back, because the greater is ahead. See, it was a great experience. Under the fig tree, where God saw me, when God changed me, when God helped me. I know what it is to be on my way away from God. I know what it is to run hard and fast from Him and tell God I don't need that. I know what that's like. But I also know, man, God has a way of putting that great stuff at just the right time. Through the right people. For the right reasons. Don't beat yourself up over the mistakes you made. Start now with a plan to let God guide you from this moment on. Because you can't fix the past. How many times do you hear me say that? But you can follow God from here.
Yes.
The disciples just thought what they were seeing was great. After Jesus was resurrected from the dead and ascended into heaven, man, it just got better after that. More people believed, miracles happened, lives were changed, things happened. And look, through those 11 guys, Judas died, through those 11, and then Paul came along later. Through that little group, the world knows Christ.
Yes.
The world hears about it. Through those, talk about greater stuff. How do you measure it? I mean, it was pretty great. It was pretty big. When Jesus healed Peter's mother-in-law, from the dead. It was pretty big. When he walked by the desk of a tax collector who everybody hated and despised and said to Levi, "Follow me." It was pretty big. It was pretty big when little Zacchaeus was up in a tree. And Jesus walked by and said, "I'm coming to your house." And nobody went to a tax collector's house that wanted the reputation intact. And he went, and Zacchaeus repented of all of the things and all the embezzlement and all the cheating of people and all of that. That's pretty big. But look how many since then.
Yeah.
Look how many lives have been changed. Look how many whole families. There's about 5 preachers, pastors in this picture. My granny and my mama. I don't think any of the people in this picture are still alive. But they all had an influence on the rest, on following generations. What does God want to do great for you? Quit backing up. Quit thinking in terms of mistakes and failures and errors and confusion, and think in terms of what lies ahead. Let faith rise up.
Amen.
Yes.
And trust God.
Yes, Lord.
Let's pray. While your head's bowed, before I pray, I want you to think that there's some great things God's done for you. One is you're still alive. He's helped you survive this far. If you used to be bound up by some addiction, thank God that now you're free.
Yes, Lord.
That's a great thing. If you used to be bothered and hindered by who you were and how you grew up, and maybe you were abused, statistically, at least 1 in 4 of you were abused or molested as a child. Let go of that. Don't let that keep defining you. God has great stuff for you. Take a step toward Him. There's no reason to wallow in the past. Father, thank you for the people that are here today. You knew who would be here and you planned for them, and I thank you for all you've done for us today. For our chance to be together and enjoy each other. That's part of why you do this church, Lord God. You encourage this because it's good for us. God, I just pray today that you would help those who are struggling in the moment. Help them to see that they will experience and see and do greater things. Forgive us, Lord, those things that have hindered us, and help us to move forward. Just keep your head bowed for a moment, please. If you need prayer, if you'd like for me to pray with you personally, I'd be glad to. While we're here, we can help and encourage one another. If you want prayer, please feel free to come and I'll pray with you. But even if you don't want to come up here, I want you to talk to God. And maybe there's some things you just need to let go of in order to move to that greater point. Give God the opportunity. Give Him the chance to make you better, to make you stronger, to make you more beneficial to the calling He's placed in your life. Stand with me, please. Thank you for being here today. Good to see Paulette here today. And most of y'all know her house burned down this week, the past week. And thank you for all of you who have helped her in this time. It's a rough deal when you lose your house like that. It's rough. Glad she's here today. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Have a great day.